I actually had an entirely different intro planned out for this video, but due to the excessive amount of swearing that we would have to use, the video would most likely get demonetized and Aunt Susan wouldn't really be happy with me. So instead, I just figured I would film my coffee break. Delicious. Now let's talk about Forspoken. Forspoken is a game that I live streamed recently here on the channel. You can catch the first 4 hours or so of the game in the VOD of that live stream in case you feel like you want to watch some more footage besides the footage that I'm going to be having in the background of this video. You'll be able to get it in that live stream. There's a decent chunk of gameplay in there, decent chunk of like story, cutscenes, all of that, without necessarily having a whole lot of spoilers in my opinion, because it's just the beginning of the story, it's just the setup, all of that stuff, and there aren't really any major twists or anything like that. So I think it's pretty safe for consumption in the event that you happen to be someone who's like, oh, I'm very curious about the game, I want to see more, but I really don't want to get spoiled because, you know, maybe I want to enjoy the story for myself. The VOD of the live stream, in my opinion, is fairly safe, and that is somewhere that you can go if you want to watch more gameplay. But I also wanted to do a video because naturally not everybody's going to have time to actually watch a 4-hour live stream. And I wanted to do this video to talk a little bit about the discourse around Forspoken and also my thoughts around the game. This title was sent to me by Square Enix so that I could give it a look and tell you guys my opinions on it. So let's get started. Live streaming this game was actually a very interesting experience because if you've been around the channel for a while, you'll be aware of the fact that I live stream all kinds of games here. Sometimes I'll get to live stream a game that people are super hyped about. Everybody jumps in chat, you're excited to check out the game, and you're all just like having a good time, and it's good times all around. Sometimes I'll live stream a game that's going to be kind of mid, and people jump in chat, you're kind of neutral, you're like, you know, it's whatever, don't really care that much about that. And sometimes I'll live stream a game that is not that great, and people jump in chat, and it's like, oh, this game's complete trash. Like, to give you an idea, I actually live streamed and did extensive coverage for Anthem back in the day when that game was kind of fresh, right? And why is this important? Because when I was live streaming Forspoken, I kid you not, the chat reactions were actually way worse than Anthem. And I was like, wow, that is surprising, because if you remember what people were talking about in Anthem back when the game was still fresh, it was just like dunk after dunk after dunk after dunk. And that was kind of like the experience that was happening with Forspoken. And it's like, don't get me wrong, I never want to try and silence criticism when it comes to my live streams. As a matter of fact, I welcome it. Like, yeah, let's talk openly about the games. That is extremely important. The thing that was bothering me about the recent stream that I did on Forspoken is that people were complaining about things that I straight up was not seeing on screen. And that was something that I was finding to be a problem. Like, I remember I was playing the game and people were saying like, oh wow, these graphics completely suck. And I was like, wait, what? Are we watching the same game? Is there like a problem with the bitrate? Like, look at the footage that you're watching on screen right now and tell me if this looks like a bad game. Not only the visuals, in my opinion, are pretty good. I wouldn't say that they're like super mega mind-blowing, next-gen, super mega hyper whatever, but I think they're pretty good. Now, the visuals also have 3 different modes that you can have in the game. While we're talking about visuals, might as well bring that up. But the different modes are like quality, which is 4K, you have ray tracing, and you have performance. Now, I'm always going to go for performance. I've said this multiple times. I personally, if you give me a choice, I'll always go straight after the FPS unless they make the game look really bad, which they didn't. I think the game looked great. But more important than what the game looked, I think the animations were really, really good. In terms of animations of gameplay. Like, I get it, some of the stuff in the cutscenes sometimes looked a little bit weird. Maybe it could have used a little bit more polish. Overall, I kind of think that if this game had a couple of more months in the oven, it would have probably come out in a better state. But that's where kind of like the discrepancies started as I was live streaming the game. People were complaining about the visuals, and I'm like, I don't understand where all of this complaining is coming from. It just feels like you're wanting to hate on the game for no reason. Now, if you follow up with that, you then also have like the whole dialogue thing. Now, the dialogue is a very strange one because this character curses like a sailor, and I find that this is something that we're not particularly used to in video games, right? In video games, there aren't characters that tend to cuss this much. Like this chick is dropping F-bombs in, you know, every other word or something like that. She's just like trying to come up with all kinds of things. Like she even went to the MFer and I was like, whoa. She's like, that's a dragon. And I was like, whoa, man, hey, I'm trying not to cuss because I'm trying to be nice to Aunt Susan. Otherwise, Aunt Susan's going to demonetize us and we don't want that, right? So basically the character cusses a lot and that apparently is a problem. And I'm like, I mean, come on, is that really that big of an issue? I don't think that her cussing is a big issue. The biggest problem that I had when it came to the dialogue itself was just some of the inconsistencies that would happen. And it's not just about the dialogue, it's also about the writing. And in there, I think that there's a lot of really valid criticism and a lot of things that I myself ranted on throughout that live stream. Like the fact that at the very beginning of the game, I'm going to tell you guys something that happens at the very beginning. It's not a spoiler in my opinion, but anyways. So the character, she's like a street kid, right? So she's got involved in some pretty shady stuff. And she's having all of these deals with like some New York gang, right? A street gang. And apparently they're looking for her. You run away, you go back to your apartment, yada, yada, yada. And she gets to her apartment, and her apartment, by the way, she's basically squatting on some condemned building or whatever. But in her apartment, she's got a bag full of money, which I believe we're led to assume that she stole it from the gang or something. So she's got a bag full of money and she's got a cat. She goes to sleep for some reason with a bag full of money open lying next to her, which, you know, considering that you're living in a condemned building, I'm not sure that's the best of ideas, but she does that. So she goes to sleep and as she wakes up, the whole building is on fire. And I'm just like, all right, building's on fire. Money is made out of paper. We should probably pick up the money. It's like, oh, my cat. And I was like, oh, I see where this is going. Like the moment she said, oh, I'm not leaving here without my cat. And I was like, okay, this is very basic. You're going to go after the cat. The money's going to burn because money's made out of paper. It's going to burn. Why can't you pick up the... So it's small inconsistencies like that. And they really triggered the crap out of me because it gets a little bit worse. So you're wondering, why is her building on fire in this particular moment, right? And as she's looking for the cat, you see that there's a window, and in the window it says, "We found you." So I'm sitting there wondering, so wait a minute, the people from the gang, they found you. And they went to your building, they set it on fire, and they just left the money there, which by the way was in plain sight for anyone to see. They just left that money there to burn. See, those are the types of inconsistencies that I feel like, that is so weird. Like, who thought of this, right? And there's more things. Like, there's a section in the game where, you know, you get to this town after you get isekai'd into Athia, whatever, the new world. There's a section of the game where you're put in prison because people don't know who you are and you have all these magical powers. And they're like, oh, you're a monster, you're a heretic, blah, 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 we're going to put you in jail. So they put you in prison, and then you make an escape, right? As you are escaping, guards are searching for you. Guards are searching for you. Guards almost find you as you make your escape, and you leave the city. Then eventually the story takes you back to the city, not even that much longer after that particular event, and you get back to the city, and there's a guard there. You know, one of the same people that was trying to catch you, that threw your ass in jail, that thought that you were a monster. You know, one of those. You get there and you speak to the guard, and the guard goes like, your friend, she's in the square, you have to go help her. And I'm just like, wait, whoa. How do we go from, we're going to throw you in jail, we're going to hunt you down, we're going to chase you out of town, to please come help us, your friend's in danger? See, that's the type of stuff that completely breaks immersion for me. That's the type of stuff that I feel deserves criticism. That's the type of stuff that I think that if you had a couple of more months in QA, hopefully people would be able to like figure this stuff out and actually, come up with a better structure for that dialogue. Maybe even remove the dialogue altogether with that particular guard, where the guard's like, your friend, she's in it. If that guard had said nothing, or if that guard had said like, what are you doing here? You're a monster, something like that. That would have made more sense, and that wouldn't have taken me out of the experience. And that I find to be one of the problems with the game, right? But the stuff that people are talking about, the stuff that I hear people talk about, like on social media, the stuff that people are saying during my stream, I'm just like, I don't see it, right? People criticizing visuals, people saying the game's not fun. And I'm just like, no, the gameplay is fun. You know, when you're parkouring and killing monsters with spells and all of this stuff, it's fun. The sounds are good. By the way, I usually talk about sounds. The soundtrack hasn't really stood out to me that much. It just feels like generic. It's not bad. It's not good. It's mid. That's the way that I look at it. Kind of like the same way about the story that I've experienced so far. It's not terrible. It's not great. It's kind of like, it's meh. It's mid, the story so far. And like, for all I know, it might get better. It might get worse. Review scores are kind of like all over the place. IGN gave this game like a 6 out of 10 or something like that, which again, I thought was kind of like weird. But to me, the biggest thing so far has been like the inconsistencies, right? But as I was talking about, the gameplay itself, that is extremely fun. Traversing the world is extremely fun. This is something that open world games don't pay that much attention to. So whenever an open world game pays attention to the traversal aspect, I always feel the need to bring that up because it is so important. And it almost feels like so many developers forget that people actually have to traverse your world, and traversing the world needs to actually be fun. Whereas it seems like in Forspoken, that has really been made really well. The traversal, the parkour aspects, the flow, jumping through stuff, boosting through things. It feels good. And I haven't even unlocked that many abilities yet. I've unlocked like 2 traversal abilities because I think I'm like 6 hours in, give or take. So I've only unlocked a couple of traversal abilities, but that stuff, it feels really fun. And if it gets better than what I've experienced so far, I can only imagine it just feeling even more fun than it feels right now. Spellcasting also feels fun. And here's the interesting thing, because spellcasting for some reason in the demo didn't click with me. Might have been because I was overwhelmed with all the different things, and the more gradual introduction of spells in the final game just worked better. But I just kind of feel like the whole flow of things and the world itself, because it's much more fleshed out than it was in the demo. The demo felt incredibly empty, and it would just be weird because you'd have like this completely empty field and then like a random house in there, no ruins, nothing, just like a random house plopped in the middle. The demo felt extremely weird and empty and lifeless, whereas the actual world of the game does not feel like that. It actually feels interesting, even if somewhat repetitive, because like you'll kill monsters and they'll respawn within like, I don't know, 3 minutes or something. It feels like they respawn really fast. So like you'll get out of a zone and then you'll come back a little bit later and the enemies will have respawned already, which just basically made me go like, okay, so I'll just not kill these dudes all the times I go through here because it's whatever. But the world felt much better in the full game than it felt in the demo. Because like, you guys know me, when I did the demo, I mean, there's a live stream of that as well. You can go check that out. When I did the demo, I was like, I don't even know if I want to play the final game. And when I requested the code that Square Enix sent me, I even said as much. I was like, hey, listen, if you guys are low on keys, don't make me a priority because I didn't like the demo. I am curious. I do want to check it out, but I didn't like the demo, so don't make me a priority. Like I even said as much because I'm super honest whenever it comes to my business dealings with publishers and stuff like that. I'll always say whether I'm interested in something or not. And I guess Forspoken I wasn't. But having put 6 hours into it, I am interested in playing the game. I am interested in seeing more because I really enjoyed the spellcasting. I really enjoyed the traversal. And those things made me want to see more of the spells that unlock, of the systems that unlock. But then there are other things that I didn't enjoy nearly as much. And one of the things that I definitely need to bring up, which I talked about earlier when it came to the Anthem situation, is that the developers don't know, I mean, at least part of the team doesn't know what makes the game fun, which is always so weird to me. It almost feels like, these teams are massive that are developing these games, right? And the team behind Forspoken, it almost seems like part of the team got it, right? They got what was fun. They got the traversal. They got the gameplay down. They got all of those aspects. They got those things down. They understood what they were going for, and they nailed it. And then the other part of the team had no idea why people actually want to play this game. And those people were the people that were working on the side quests. Because let me tell you, Jesus Christ, the side quests in the game, the ones that I've done so far anyways, and that is pretty much all of the ones that I could find, were so bad. I'm not talking about the open world activities, mind you. I'm talking about actual side quests where you interact with NPCs. Because when I was capturing the B-reel for this footage, it was actually this morning. I'm recording this in the evening, but the morning that I was recording this, I was like, okay, I just want to record some B-roll of me going outside, killing some monsters, jumping around and all of that. But, you get out of, I got out of the cutscene that I was in from having finished the live stream. And I'm looking around and I'm like, okay, so the game tells you, oh, there are these side quests that will show up in town and you'll want to do them because when the game advances, they can disappear. And I was like, all right, so let's check out some of these side quests. And I kid you not, every single side quest was a lame escort mission of like, oh, you found this cat, follow this cat. I must have followed like 6 or 7 different cats in 1 hour. 1 hour of me just like following cats in town. And by the way, I'm not even talking about cool following cats as in these cats are moving super fast and you're like parkouring. No, I'm talking just like slow walking, following these cats to get special currency to buy things. 7 of these quests. I don't know if it was actually 7. It might have been 5, 6, whatever. Way too many. And I'm just like, bro, why? Why do you need this? You don't need this. This is straight up filler stuff that is not fun. Like it got to the point where every single time I opened my map, I was like, please let there not be another side quest there. Please, for the love of God, stop. And then after that, I was like, okay, let's stop it with the cat stuff. So I took a break from the cat stuff. And I was like, let me actually find an actual NPC that has a quest. And I got on the quest with an NPC. And guess what he wants me to do? Follow me around. I'm going to take you on a tour of the town. I'm like, I don't want this. I don't have my powers active while I'm in town. I can't even parkour through the town properly because I can't speed boost. I can't do any of the cool things that I want to do. No, just slow walk after this character as he shows you all of these things that I could give no crap about. Like, what's the point? What's the point of this? Like, I get it. You're trying to build a world. You're trying to feel like the world is lived in. But listen, this whole thing with the whole tour that I did with the character, just give me a cutscene. Like, just give me like a 30-second cutscene of me talking with the dude and the dude telling me, oh, there's this thing here, that thing there, boom, done. Instead of having me waste like 10 minutes of my time or so of just like walking around the city that I'm already burned out walking around of because of all these goddamn cats that I had to chase around to get the currency, to buy items and... Oh, God. See, that's... And this is the problem. This is one of the problems to me, like, potentially the biggest problem that Forspoken has, because I'm not even talking that much about the story. Like I said, the story hasn't really grabbed me that much. It can get a lot better. It can get a lot worse. I don't know. But all of these things in between, which me, as I tend to be like a completionist gamer, I like to try and do as much of the games as possible. I like to try and absorb as much of the games as possible. I'm trying to do all of these quests and I'm bored out of my mind. And then eventually I get to go out. And the moment I got out, I was like, oh, so much more fun. I can actually just like run around, kill things, pick up loot, do some of these open world activities. And the open world activities, some of them are fun. But I feel like, again, it's one of those situations that it's pretty much just, if you've played a Ubisoft game, you know exactly what this open world is going to be like. Now, they do have an interesting thing that I only became aware of a little bit earlier today, that basically you can mark 5 things on the map simultaneously and they show up and you can kind of just like, okay, I'll set a couple of objectives for myself and boom, 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 and tackle all of those because you can navigate super fast. So, it's just one of those things. It's a game where it feels like the team was very scattered. Like, their attention was very scattered, which was the same thing that I talked about when I talked about Anthem. And it's the same thing that I talk about in other games. But to give you an idea of the Anthem example, what was the most fun thing to do in Anthem? Fly. What was the first thing that they did on the very first dungeon that they ever did in Anthem? Like, the very first dungeon that they did besides the base dungeons. The very first boss, they don't let you fly. And I'm just like, bro, you're literally taking the most fun aspect of your game and removing it. What are you doing? And, in Forspoken, it feels like so much of that feels like it's the same thing. Like, you're literally taking the most fun aspect of this game, which is parkouring around and killing stuff, and having me follow NPCs in this city? Why? What's the logic? Please explain. I can't understand it. So yeah, but fundamentally, I still don't understand the ridiculous hate boner that people have for it. Like, people are sharing all kinds of clips on Twitter and stuff, and I look at the clips and I'm like, yeah, it's not great, but it's not, you know, something that I'd be like, oh my god, I can't believe they put that dialogue in there. It's like, to me, it's more like, I can't believe that she didn't pick the bag of money when her apartment was on fire. Why is nobody talking about that? Her apartment was on fire. She had a bag of money. Money made of paper. She didn't pick up the money. She just let that money burn. That didn't make any goddamn sense. See, that's the stuff that I feel like we should be talking about, you know? But anyway, in case you're thinking about picking it up, my recommendation would be probably wait for like a discount. I don't foresee this game being full price for, you know, a significant chunk of time. I would expect to see discounts within the next semester or so. You got time. I don't think that people are chomping at the bit. They're just like, oh man, I can't wait to play Forspoken. Me personally, I'm going to continue playing it. I'm probably not going to be live streaming it because, like, look, one of the things that I've noticed over the years is I take a lot of energy from the chat. And again, I'm not saying that I don't want people to complain about video games. I think people should be free to say whatever they want so long as it is kind of like realistic to an extent, right? So, but I absorb a lot of the energy when I'm live streaming. I absorb a lot of the energy that comes from my chat, and I did not enjoy the experience when I live streamed this because it was just like negativity on top of negativity, and I'm like, ugh, whatever. So I'll be playing this one off stream. I have plenty of games that I'm going to be playing on stream, but overall, you know, I think it's kind of like an average game. That's it. I don't think it deserves all of the hatred that I'm seeing online, but I don't think it deserves like a ton of praise either. It's just an average game. That's it. But yeah, you know, it is what it is. I'm going to continue playing it, and I'll talk more about it, like if I feel like there's something that I want to talk about when it comes to this game. But for now, this is going to be it. Hopefully this video helps you out in making a decision. And yeah, thank you all very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, subscribe, bell notification icon, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe. Peace out.